Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. We have a lot to get into today, so let's just hop right into it. We got Spike, we got Michelle, we have Caleb here to talk about the Bills. They have recently had a couple of rough weeks coming off a loss to the Ravens, and then last week they lost to the Texans 23-20. There was a lot of controversy into this game about a couple of coaching decisions, including on the Bills' final drive where they had the ball at the 3-yard line and they decided to throw the ball 3 times as they were looking to get into field goal range. They also opted to not take a 10-second runoff on C.J. Stroud's intentional grounding because they were looking to push the ball on the field and get into field goal range. So a lot of people are mad at Joe Brady and Sean McDermott for this decision. They believe that they should have just tried to play for overtime. And part of me, I understand where that is coming from because, obviously we lost the game, so it didn't work out. But at the same time, they still had 3 timeouts. So if we just run the ball, they call the 3 timeouts, they can still get in the field goal range anyways. So I think they should have went for the first down, but not by throwing it 3 straight times. They should have started off with a run play, then maybe went with another run play or a quick pass. And then on third down is where you really unleash it. You try to get that first down. So at least you guaranteed you gain a couple yards, burn a couple of these timeouts, waste a little more clock. And then we're looking at a completely different game there. Obviously, we lost the game, so they made the wrong decision. In hindsight's 2020. But moving on, obviously, that wasn't the only reason why we lost this game. The offense did not play very well. They scored 20 points, but that was more so because of a couple of turnovers and a couple of just big plays that aren't really sustainable. The passing attack was awful. Josh went 9 for 30 for 131 yards and a touchdown, no turnovers. Caleb, was this more on the receivers or Josh Allen?
I don't think it was more on the receivers.
Or Josh Allen. I think both the group of wide receivers and Josh Allen played poorly. You could see without Khalil Shakir, this offense just lacks a lot of safety and an easy option for Josh Allen. But Mac Hollins did not track the football well. Dalton Kincaid had multiple drops. Curtis Samuel can't create separation. Keon Coleman had a few drops and also did not look good other than his 1 touchdown. So I think it was a mixture of both. Josh wasn't hitting his targets with anticipation. The defense that the Texans were playing was really good. And the wide receivers, a common theme, they're just not getting a lot of separation to this point.
Yep. And then, as I mentioned, the defense did play well against a high-scoring offense like the Texans, holding them to 23 points, really keeping them in the game in the second half to allow the Bills to make it a game. It was 17-3 at half. They forced 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter, a 12-yard interception, and then a strip sack fumble that set up the game-tying field goal. Michelle, who really stood out to you on the defensive side of the ball?
On the defensive side, Dorian Williams really stood out. 12 tackles, 11 of them being solo, and as well as 1 fumble recovery, which as a team as a whole wasn't working in connection together, but he definitely played his game and stood out to me.
And then moving on, the Bills travel to MetLife to take on the New York Jets on Monday Night Football this upcoming week. A couple of injuries to talk about. Khalil Shakir, James Cook, Curtis Samuel, and Ed Oliver did not practice today. James Cook and Curtis Samuel had foot/toe injury designations, and then Shakir and Oliver obviously did not play last week. Taylor Rapp cleared concussion protocol, so he's good to go. And then Teron was limited again. Caleb, do these injuries concern you?
The 2 injuries that really concern me, quite frankly, is James Cook and Khalil Shakir. You know how important they are to the offense. The safety valves, the easy options for Josh Allen, it takes a lot of pressure off of him. So as far as those 2 injuries, I am very concerned. Dwayne Carter played outstanding last week. So him filling in for Ed Oliver again, I feel okay about that. Not great, but I feel okay about it. And Curtis Samuel just hasn't been very good to this point, so I don't know how much they would miss him, even if he did miss a game. Obviously, you wish everybody's healthy, but I am concerned about James Cook and Khalil Shakir because it just makes life a lot more difficult for Josh Allen without them.
And due to all these injuries and a couple of rough weeks of playing, the Bills have lost these last 2 games. But they do travel to play the Jets, and this is a big game for the division as the Bills have a 1-game lead over the New York Jets. Michelle, who do you think needs to step up the most for the Bills to stop this 2-game skid?
Caleb said it earlier, but Dalton Kincaid had a couple of those drops there, and I think overall he could be more of a target player for Josh, and he hasn't been there, so that's who I'm going to choose, and I'm going to hope to see better of him next week.
Moving on, we have a local Jets fan here to talk about the Jets side. The Jets just fired Robert Saleh. Obviously shocking to the world, but how do you think this affects the Jets in this upcoming game against the Bills?
I believe Ulbrich could be able to maybe read a defense a little bit better than either Hackett or Robert Saleh had seemed to have been able to do. But I feel like it's going to win over the locker room just a little bit more because Ulbrich has had actual NFL experience. He's played before. He knows how to get a team juiced up. He knows how to get his men in the locker room fired up. And it just seemed like something that was missing from the Jets. As Quincy Williams and Garrett Wilson both said in post-game interviews, they're tired of hearing the same thing over and over. And when Robert Saleh came out after that close loss to the Vikings and said that people are going to have to wait for this team to improve, I think right then and there that team turned on him completely. As he came into the office on Monday, he was fired minutes after trying to make a head coaching decision involving Nathaniel Hackett. Whether that played a role in it or not, it is undetermined, but it was definitely a decision that was going to happen towards the end of the season with the way this team is going, with how stacked this roster is for the first time in forever. Something had to be done, and maybe this is the push the Jets need, but we'll see come Monday.
All right, and then I just want to get your guys' game predictions coming up. Caleb, we'll start with you.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring matchup, 20-17. Bills win. I think the Bills find their footing a little bit against the Jets. And quite frankly, their offense has been struggling because they have one of the worst play callers in all football, Nathaniel Hackett, who is still employed. And also, Aaron Rodgers just hasn't been playing well. So I see being a defensive matchup. Hopefully, Tehran's back, and you just see a masterclass on that side of the football.
Michelle, what about you?
I'm going to go low scoring as well. I'm going to go 14-10, just seeing as they just lost their head coach. Maybe they'll be out of their rhythm a little bit, but we'll see.
Spike, what is your score prediction?
Let's run back last year, the first game of the season, 23-16.
Yep, I'm also going to go with low scoring. I'm going to go with 13-10. The Bills win. I mean, I just don't see the Bills or the Jets being able to do anything on offense with. You said Nathaniel Hackett is one of the worst. I'm going to say he is the worst, and I don't think it's particularly close. He is just awful. So the Bills' defense is getting healthier, playing really well. Bills' offense is struggling, but I think they have enough star power to be able to win this game. So, yeah, give me 13-10 Bills. Moving on, we have Colin in the next segment to talk about the NFL.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's slumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're going to take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back to Buffalo Sports Insider. We are here now for our NFL segment. I'm joined by London, Spike, and Nate. We'll start off with our Week 5 recap. Spike, your Jets were in London against the Minnesota Vikings. Walk us through that game and the game-winning drive that ultimately fell just short.
Yep, just get to talk about the aftermath of that game, and now I get to talk about the game itself. The offense fell flat once again. It's been the same story for the past couple of years, and the fans and the team is ultimately tired of it because it seemed to be resulting in the firing of our head coach, Robert Saleh. Aaron Rodgers threw 3 costly interceptions. 2 of them were 100% of his fault. One was at the feet of Michael Williams, and the other one was over the head of Allen Lazard. The first one, however, was a great lurk by Van Ginkel to take that one back to the house and ultimately giving the Vikings a win. Without that touchdown, the score would have been 17-16, and the Jets could have edged out a win there, but they simply couldn't. The defense, once again, no issues, forced an interception, low yards rushing, low yards passing. This offense just needs to find a way to score, and it's something that's been struggling against this team for the better half of a decade, and it's just something that needs to click eventually, especially with the roster they have around them right now.
The Vikings 5-0, definitely the surprise of the NFL so far. London, we'll move over to you. Ravens-Bengals was a shootout that ended up going into overtime. Can you walk us through probably the most exciting game of the week?
This was a great quarterback matchup by both of these quarterbacks. Joe Burrow threw for almost 400 yards. He had 5 touchdowns. He still completed about almost 80% of his passes. And we know how Lamar Jackson is. He's a great quarterback as well, but he is more running the ball. Him and Derrick Henry dominated the whole game. I feel this Bengals defense is weak. They have been weak this whole year so far. Their run game is weak with Chase Brown, Zach Moss. I feel they've kind of been more disappointing, and I feel their defense showed that they were weak when it was 5 minutes left in the game, and we seen Lamar kind of fumble the shotgun pass from the snap. He fumbled it for a couple seconds, and he was still able to create the space and scored a touchdown pass to Isaiah Likely. So yeah, this Bengals defense, I think it's over for their season. This was a great game.
Cincinnati drops to 1-4 after that game. Baltimore 3-2 with big wins against the Bills and the Bengals. Nate, moving on to you now. Sunday Night Football between the Cowboys and Steelers went into Monday morning due to some weather delay. Can you walk us through what happened in that game?
Well, look, man, if you had to get up early in the morning, I ain't going to hold you for falling asleep, but you missed a good one. Dak came up big. Fourth quarter, he ended the game with 352 yards. Tolbert came up big with the game-winning touchdown, and I feel like the Steelers really missed the opportunity to stay undefeated.
Russell Wilson looking to become healthy now and potentially compete for the starting quarterback spot. Nate, what do you think? Should the Steelers keep Justin Fields in? Because it seems to be working. They're 3-2. Or do you go over to Russell Wilson, the veteran presence that's been to 2 Super Bowls, winning one of them?
I think right now you stay with Fields. I think him and Russell Wilson, the game is similar. He actually reminds me of a young Russell Wilson. So I think throwing wise, they give you about the same, but I think Justin Fields gives you the running element that Russ just doesn't have anymore at this stage of his career.
I agree with you there on that one, Nate. Moving on to our Week 6 preview now. Thursday Night Football, 49ers and Seahawks, and NFC West showdown. Spike, what you got?
I started my Buffalo Sports Insider covering the 49ers, and I keep picking the Seahawks because, God, I have a soft spot for Geno Smith. This is a must-win for both teams. The 49ers are still struggling without the presence of CMC. Defenses have been able to easily cover them, even with all the talent they have with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle being back there for that offense. And Geno Smith has been playing pretty good. That last game against the Lions, it may not have looked it score-wise, but they were very in that game, and that loss to the Giants was just brutal, but that was a special teams error, letting the kick be blocked. It was a great clear by the special teams on the Giants end, but the Seahawks just need to clean up stuff like that. Other than those two faults for both teams, one with injuries, one with a couple of special teams mishaps, this is going to slate up to be one of the better matches of this week, I believe, especially it being prime time on Thursday Night Football. Both of these teams need to grab this win to take that lead or stay in the lead in their respective divisions. Once again, just like that Lions-Seahawks one, it's going to be a dog match. I don't know how to pick a team here, but I got to ride with Geno Smith here. So hopefully the Seahawks can pull out that win, but I can see this game going either way.
Now, two of the most explosive quarterbacks in the NFL, Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, will be facing off on Sunday. Nate, what are you expecting from the Offensive Rookie of the Year favorite and the reigning MVP?
Man, look, Jaden Daniels looking more than Offensive Rookie of the Year right now, bro. He might be MVP. And then on the other side, you got Derrick Henry, who, in my opinion, I think he clearing the way is the MVP right now if the season ended right now. And we didn't even mention Lamar Jackson yet. So this is going to be pure star-studded box office, my game of the week. I can't wait for it.
Thank you for that, Nate. Now, Lions, Cowboys, 2 teams with 3 wins. Lions coming off the bye week, but Dallas potentially getting a little healthier with Deron Bland coming back. London, what are you looking forward to in this game?
So we know this Lions offense is a high efficient offense when Jared Goff is playing his best. Last season when these teams matched up, you've seen that the Cowboys pressured Goff a little more, and it came up in a 1-point win. But this Cowboys team, they can't stop the run game. So how are you going to be able to handle that dominant run presence of Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, as they are the third rushing team in the NFL? The Cowboys won't have Brandon Cooks this game. So you want to see how Jalen Tolbert steps up, and CeeDee Lamb. And like you said, Deron Bland may be back as his practice window has opened up, but also Micah Parsons will be questionable for this game. So you wonder how defensive-wise, how the Cowboys are going to handle this Lions team. But I'm taking the Lions.
Thanks, London. That is our NFL segment for the week. We've got some great games in store in Week 6. Coming up next, the Buffalo Sabres.
How was school today?
It was good.
Did you play volleyball?
Yes.
How's your serve coming? I think we'll work on it this weekend.
Amy's lumber party is this weekend.
Is your homework done?
No.
That was the deal we made. If you do...
Hi, Lauren. My name is Katie. We're gonna take care of you, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Hello and welcome back to the Saber segment. My name is Michelle and I'm joined by Thomas, Colin, and Alex. And today we're going to be talking about the Global Series with Buffalo Sabres and the New Jersey Devils in Prague. So as we know, the Devils swept and they won by 4-1 and then 3-1. The Sabres unfortunately lost a lot of puck battles, had a lot of careless turnovers, and our power play was not up to par. Overall, just a rough games to watch. Let's start with game one. Thomas, give me a little recap and where we went wrong.
Well, we lost the game 4-1 against the Devils, our first game in Prague, and it was a very upsetting loss for me and most other Sabres fans, as this was a chance to turn the tide and show what we were made of in a different country, in a game where we could kind of display this on a national level, considering this was one of the only game going on at the time. So many fan bases, many teams were watching this to see how this would go. And of course, Buffalo did Buffalo things by falling 4-1 in this one. It started with a turnover by Matthias Samuelsson passing the puck right out front to Nathan Bastian. Bastian would send the pass across to Stefan Nason, who scored the first goal. That kind of leads me to my next point here. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen had 19 saves, 22 shots against, 3 goals against in this game as Paul Cotter empty net goal for the fourth goal. It was a very upsetting game from him, I understand, but I feel like the defense left him out to dry in this one. It was not on him as much as it was on that defense. They just turned the puck over too many times, and it was very careless on their end. He sure ended up scoring in a very similar fashion. Kovacevic had one as well, and they just really couldn't get anything going in this game as Buffalo falls in Europe in the first game 4-1.
Exactly. So Alex, can you talk about game 2 where they lost 3-1? I'll give us a little recap and where we went wrong there.
Basically everything other than Devin Levi. I mean, he's the only reason we only lost 3-1. We got outshot 37-18. They beat us at faceoffs 33-18. Our power play, again, was non-existent. It's looked awful through the first 2 games. Just absolutely pathetic. That's the one thing that we were really looking forward to seeing, or one of the main things is last year the power play was really, really bad. We're like, oh, maybe they're bringing in new people, but somehow Matty Ellis is still coaching the power play. It doesn't make any sense. Last year the product was awful, and then they don't change it, and then the product's, again, awful this year. Who would have thought? I mean, it's kind of common sense. If something's bad and you don't change it, it's going to stay bad. But it's just the Sabres being the Sabres. Very, very frustrating game. It was nice to see Tage get on the board with the goal. Obviously, we want to see him get back more to 2022 than 2023, where he had 94 points. So I don't think we're going to see that out of him again. But if we can get 80, 85, that'd be really great to see. So to see him get his first goal of the year was nice. But, I mean, that goal and then Devin Levi playing outstanding until the third period when the defense let him out to dry just one too many times. We got dominated in this game. At least the first game, even though we lost by more, we played more competitive. This game was just really, really upsetting to see. We just came out. We were soft. We couldn't win a face-off. They just absolutely dominated us. And at least, it was just very frustrating.
Yeah, very upsetting games to watch. Moving on to the roster, the 23-man roster came out. We have Obey Kubel on IR with Levi and UPL as our goalies. Also, Rasmus Dahlin is the captain, and we have 4 alternate captains, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuck, Matthias Samuelsson, and Dylan Cousins. Colin, can you give me a little more detail on that?
Yeah, so the Sabres had 27 players in Prague for their trip overseas. Once they came back, they had to send a couple guys down, including James Reimer, the goaltender, who did not clear waivers. He was claimed by the Anaheim Ducks. So that offseason acquisition, no longer with the Buffalo Sabres. expect them to potentially make a move for a veteran goalkeeper, a Malcolm Subban-esque player that you can rely on in Rochester to call up if something were to happen to Devin Levi or Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Keeping Levi up on the team shows me that they're going to go with more of a tandem this year rather than riding UPL for most of the season like they did last year. I'm very excited to see Levi get some more game time. Like Thomas mentioned, or Alex mentioned, Levi looked great in Prague, and I expect that play to continue. Yuri Kulik making a roster because Albie Kubel is on IR right now. I'm excited to see him play as well. Sabres fans have been waiting for him to emerge and be in a Buffalo Sabres uniform for more than just a couple games. I don't know if he'll crack the starting lineup on Thursday against the Kings, but I expect him to get some rotation in on the bottom six in the next couple weeks while Albie Kubel's still on IR. And then you mentioned those captains. I was not expecting 4 alternates, but all 4 of those guys are leaders on the team, leaders in the locker room, and they just need to match that to their play on the ice now. Tuck and Thompson need to continue finding the back of the net. Same with Dylan Cousins. And if Matisse Samuels can stay healthy, that's a great asset to have on defense.
Yep, I totally agree. So moving on to the game tomorrow, which is our home opener against the LA Kings. What do you guys think we need to do against the LA Kings to step up our game? Thomas, did you want to start?
Yeah, I think we really got to eliminate those turnovers. As Alex and I both mentioned, our goaltending got hung out to dry. Of course, Levi did live up a little bit better than Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen did, but at the same time, he didn't face the level of shots and still give up the same amount of goals. It's a very tough game in hockey. You really rely on those defensemen a ton, and you really have to get them to stop turning the puck over and keep these plays alive, to keep the momentum running forward in our favor, because momentum shifts like that can really ruin a game and a season potentially, as we lost both of our first 2 games in turnovers and just not being able to do much on the defensive side of the puck. So we really need to eliminate those to enable our ability to win.
Yeah, for me, I just want to see people stay in position. I mean, you look at the Devils game.
The difference is they were just mostly in position. Every time we'd bring the puck up on offense, we just couldn't get anything going because they just were where they were supposed to be. But then every time the Devils brought it back down, there was just someone always out of position and there was someone wide open, whether it was a turnover or just bad positioning by the defense. And then, or like on the second goal, you saw Samuelson try and like dive block, but completely missed. So then the guy just had a wide open shot on the net because he was just out of position. And it's just frustrating to see all these other teams be able to stay in position, but then the Sabres just look so lost out there that someone's always wide open for the other team. And the goalies, as good as they are, can only do so much.
They need to find the back of the net. They've scored 1 goal in each of their first 2 games. You're not going to win a lot of hockey games doing that, even if you have good goaltending. You've got a perfect chance to do that against the Kings, who are currently missing their top defenseman, Drew Doughty. He was placed on long-term IR, and their goaltending leaves something to be desired. It'll probably be Darcy Kemper on Thursday. Could be David Rittich, but either way, that's something you have to take advantage of. A team missing their top defenseman and then not very good goaltending. You need to be able to score, and the top 6 has to show up. Tage has a goal. Our other goals from Owen Power, Alex Tuck, Dylan Cousins, Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka. Let's go. Let's find the back of the net.
Exactly. I agree with everything you guys said. And all I have to add is, like, I want to see that connection we saw in the preseason that just disappeared when the regular season came. But I'm excited to see what the season has to offer. Our next segment, we're going to have MLB with Thomas.
You wouldn't do that. So why do you do this? Distracted driving kills an average of 9 people and injures over 1,000 every day in America. Put down your phone. Lives depend on it. Don't drive intoxicated. Don't drive intoxicated. A sobering message from AAA.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our final segment as Nate joins us in here. My name is Thomas Bailey, and we're going to be talking about the MLB segment here today. My co-hosts are Caleb, Antonio, and Nate. So we're going to hop right in here. The MLB playoffs are underway, and there is a lot of turmoil amongst the league, a lot of upsets that happened in round 1 with the Royals beating the Orioles, the Tigers taking down the Astros, and the Mets taking down the Brewers. So with that being said, we're going to hop right into the NLDS and ALDS series. As the division series kicks off with the first 2 games, we've seen at least 2 in each series so far. We're going to hop into it with the Guardians and Tigers. I'll turn to you, Nate.
What do you think has happened in this series right now? 7-0 in game one for the Guardians at home, and then a 3-0 win by the Tigers as they have game 3 today at 3:08 p.m. So just 10 minutes away from first pitch. What are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are this is a bullpen series. Feels like whichever team can jump up, 1 or 2 runs might actually be able to win the game. That might be enough the way these bullpens are playing. Skubal was great last game, and I think that going into game 3 at home, I will give the Tigers bullpen the advantage on this one.
Yeah, so it was a very good start to the series. Obviously, the teams that have won those games so far have shut out the opposite side. So we're going to hop into the Mets series now. The Mets started off a little slow in game 1 due to a familiar face. Zach Wheeler absolutely going nuts. 113 pitches in the first game of the series. He looked stellar in those pitching performances as well in the regular season with those high pitch counts. He looked just as good in the postseason in game 1. But as soon as they turn to the bullpen, like the New York Mets like to do, they take advantage of that, and they rallied off 5 runs in the top of the 8th inning. They would win the series opener in a thrilling fashion, 6-2. And then in game 2, it kind of fell off near the end of the game. The Mets couldn't put anything together in that second half. They ended up getting a Mark Vientos home run in the top of the 9th, and you thought there might be a little glimmer of hope that they could come back. And then Nick Castellanos with a single to left field ends the game in the bottom of the 9th with 2 men out as Bryce Harper crosses the plate. A 7-6 walk-off win for the Phillies at home. Game 3, the Mets came back out with a little bit of vengeance in their home Stadium City Field, winning that game 7-2 and taking a 2-1 series lead. Their game today will be at 5:08 p.m. for the first pitch. So that's a very big series for the New York Mets. We'll see if they can upset another team as they upset the Brewers in round 1 and take down the rival Phillies in their first ever postseason appearance against the division rival. As I'm going to turn to our next series, and that'll be Antonio, Yankees, and the Royals. A very good game 1. Lived up to the hype of the series. A Jazz Chisholm potential out at second base after a Salvador Perez overthrow. It was very close, hard to kind of confirm whether he would touch the bag first or was out first. It ended up being the deciding run in game 1, so very much so turmoil that ended that game. What are your thoughts on the series so far?
So far for the series, I gotta say I'm disappointed with how the Yankees starting pitching has looked so far. For being the ace, Garrett is expected to come out there and give a strong performance. He was very shaky game 1. Same for game 2. Carlos Rodon comes out after signing the massive contract 2 seasons ago. You expect him to be on his A game. The first inning looked like he will be on that. Then after that, things started to fall apart. Same thing for the hitting. They're not getting the big hits when needed, and it's showing. If you can't hit the ball, it doesn't matter how many runs you give up. The bullpen's been good, but it doesn't matter if 1 or 2 runs scores. So they have to fix that.
Yeah, and I'm going to turn to Caleb for the last series, the Padres and the Dodgers. The Padres ended up losing game 1 due to a Shohei Ohtani 3-run homer in his first ever playoff performance. He looked great as well in that game on top of that. And the series is currently at a 2-1 standstill for the Padres as they look to win the series tonight. What are your thoughts on this series?
My thoughts on this series to this point is it's been really bad starting pitching from both sides outside of a really good Yu Darvish start, but the bullpens are some of the best in baseball. And now going into, we have a bullpen game from the LA Dodgers versus Dylan Cease. And I think the momentum's all just swinging against the Dodgers and towards San Diego. So we'll see what they can do. But Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, they're some of the hottest hitters on the planet right now. Luis Ariz is getting on base a ton, as he always does. So I just can't see the Dodgers pulling this series out.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Buffalo Sports Insider. I'm your host, Thomas Bailey, and we will see you guys next time.